Thanks, Lucas, for inviting me here and the whole team. It's an honor to be here with you guys and share what we're doing, which has been somewhat separate from what the professors are doing and now finally connecting. So it's pretty exciting. My name's Gillian Bloomfield. I work for the Environmental Leadership and Training Initiative, ELTI, which is one of the academic programs as part of the forestry school here at Yale. And the ELTI as a whole, our program is a joint initiative between Yale and the Smithsonian. And it started in 2006 as a way to take the network and the knowledge and all of the potential of Yale and the Smithsonian and really bring that into the world, trying to address the need to build capacity on environmental topics. So we have, our program has a training program which offers workshops and field courses and other field-based activities and conferences. And the participants who are active in those field courses then qualify for our leadership program, which helps bring them to the next level in building their capacity to make change happen on the ground. And all of this has happened since 2006. And then 6 years later, in 2012, we started a web-based program to complement, not replace, the on-the-ground field program. So this, like our field courses, the strategic objective of this program is to help provide learning opportunities to adults. And as per our donor stipulation, we are trying to train adults in Latin America and tropical Asia. And these are people who work for NGOs, for government, nonprofits, and are not current students, but rather decision makers and people influencing change on the ground. And the online course enhances ELTI's program by building a broader global audience. Right now we can only offer 5 or 6 courses, field courses per year in those regions, and if the course is in Colombia, usually only Colombians can come to the course. So in this case we can reach a broader audience and reach people who would not be taking a week off of work but could integrate this course into their normal work. So when first starting out, going from having an institution doing field courses and thinking about how to translate that into online courses, we were kind of surprised at the beginning of the even formation of this program. I had been working for ELTI already for a year before we started the online training program, and the big questions coming up were, how are we possibly going to teach about the environment, about tropical forests online? And so what we did starting out was I put together this report, which was what we called a program opportunities assessment. So to start out, what I did was research what other online programs are out there intended for an international audience and also addressing environmental or conservation development topics. So this is very different than University of Illinois offering a course for credit to their students. This was looking at programs with an international focus and usually not for credit. And then I took a few of the courses, interviewed the different instructors, facilitators, and overall got an idea of what was going on. And that was back in 2012, and so much has changed even since then. One of the things I also did was send out to all of our participants of past courses a survey explaining our interest in online learning and getting their feedback on what we had planned. And so a lot of decision making had to do with the feedback of the in-person course participants. And through all that, really came up with a starting place for our courses, that we would try to use a portfolio of different educational tools to see kind of what worked and what didn't work. Thematic modules that were about 1 week each, flexible hours within the week so that they could have their full-time jobs and do field work and the other things environmental practitioners do. And then one of the aspects that was really important was, why are they going to take this course? They're not just taking it because they have free time. That we want them to take it because the homework can provide practical skills that directly relate to their work and serve as a professional development opportunity. And at the end of the course, they get a certificate of participation. So we had our first course. It launched in May 2012. 2013 and was repeated in September 2013. And it's interesting, we started in Spanish, and that was mostly because a lot of the work I had already been doing for ELTI was in Spanish. So a lot of the content was there or being created. And the audience, as I mentioned, was focused on practitioners, not on students. And the commitment was about 6 hours of work per week for 6 weeks. We found out later that they ended up spending around 10 hours of work per week. And the course is free of charge, which was not our decision. It was part of the donor of our whole program's decision. The course is divided into weekly modules. I won't get into the specifics right now, but basically we're teaching a method to think, a way of thinking about an ecosystem and how you can relate that to forest restoration. So what's the ecology of the site, what's the history of disturbance, and how are you going to use that to influence your strategies for restoration? So this is restoring forests to deforested lands. And for the interactive, or for the portfolio of course tools, one of the things we did was we created what I called interactive presentations. It's almost like an interactive textbook, but for each module, either myself or with the help of student interns, and all reviewed by someone from our steering committee or a guest expert with a doctorate, we created these 5 synthesis presentations to really direct the course in the way that we wanted and provide the background information for each module. Then we had pre-recorded lectures that we created to complement each one of the syntheses. So in this case, 2 of the pre-recorded lectures were given by staff within ELTI, and the presentations were developed within ELTI, and it also served as a way for 3 of the presentations to invite guest experts, including some of the people on our steering committee. Readings, we used readings that we've created, such as the one on the end, where that's a conference proceedings that we created internally, and then readings externally, as of now, open content. And case studies which featured clear examples on the ground with partners with whom we worked with on the ground. And finally, interaction with people. So they had interaction with each other, interaction with guest experts in live video conferences, and then interaction with myself as the course facilitator, a teaching assistant, and a guest expert who reviewed all of their final projects. Speaking of final projects, one of the things to make it applicable on the ground to their work was incorporating throughout the whole course that each week they were working towards the development of a final project, where they came to the course with a specific site in mind in their home country, that they were evaluating the ecology of that site, evaluating the history of disturbance, evaluating the strategies of restoration, what social political factors they had to consider, and how they were going to do monitoring and follow-up. And all of that went together to form what we called a preliminary management plan. So these pictures just show one person's preliminary management plan for a site, a deforested site in the Guanacaste region of Costa Rica. So it was neat. At the end of the course, you have these management plans, many of which are already starting to be implemented and that they're sending to their supervisors or potential donors and can do something with. So the course was in very high demand. We had no idea what to expect. And we received 375 applicants at the beginning. Originally, we hoped to get maybe 50 to then get a first cohort as a pilot. And we were shocked when all the applicants started flowing in. And we only opened the applications between April 3rd and 19th. This is the breakdown between men and women. And it kind of shows you about 200 were not, we were allowed to be super selective. We said no. And then we really wanted to take everyone else, but we couldn't for the first course because we wanted to limit to 25 so that we could really pilot the course or see how the experience was going to go without overwhelming ourselves. For the second course, instead of just opening it to anyone, we did a much more targeted approach, taking people from the waiting list, asking guest partner organizations for recommendations of people, and then opened it up for a little window in which we still got 87 applicants and had to choose among them for the leftover spots. This just shows you the pretty faces of some of the participants, just to give an idea. We had a range of ages, somewhat closer to younger people, but even going up to people in their 50s. And out of the ones accepted, of the first course, 20 out of 25 received their final certificate, meaning they finished to the end. 24 out of 31 for the second course. So that's a much higher percentage than MOOCs. It's not as high as we would like, of course, but we're working with very international people, and usually the dropouts happen along the course and for various different reasons. One person said, oh, my wife had appendicitis, I can't keep up with the course. One person said, due to armed conflict in Colombia, their internet hasn't been working for 2 weeks. Things like that. These are real problems that people are facing. This just shows you some of the responses. We had received very good feedback from the course participants, and they really appreciated the idea that they had this management plan that they could try to work with. And some of them said, even by the end of the course, oh yeah, I've already talked to my supervisors. We're having a meeting about it next week. Our future plans soon, February 10th, we have a different course being offered, which is a more advanced course that's shorter and has more live component, which is a training for trainers of forest restoration. We're offering the same course in Portuguese in March, which should be interesting because I'll take a back seat as a current master's student from FES takes a more facilitator role because he's a native Portuguese speaker. And then I'm working on a version adapted for tropical Asia that would be in English, and then eventually an English version that we could offer to a paying audience in North America. Even though it doesn't fit our donor goal, it could be in addition and use additional support. Other course ideas, advanced monitoring of restoration projects, restoration finance and payments for ecosystem services, social political drivers, advanced techniques for productive lands. These are just some of the many possibilities. And the idea is all of this would build towards eventually having a certificate program where they take the intro course and 2 or 3 electives and then get a certificate, whatever that means, of tropical forest restoration from the Environmental Leadership and Training Initiative. And we also want to integrate some of the online training with the field-based training. We're thinking of doing monitoring online where we can incorporate some of the expertise of, say, English-speaking Yale professors for monitoring with subtitles as the prerequisite for then a field course in Colombia. And so thank you to the ELTI team and the Office of Digital Dissemination and Online Learning and all the people who have helped work towards this.